FlightSimCon 2017 and AirDailyX.net. I am joined by Bart Waklawak from VolarSim. Did I say that right?
Close enough.
Close enough. So I think is this your second or third visit to FlightSimCon?
This is our second year here.
Okay, I remember you here last year. I was taking a look at the setup. I actually think the setup you have this year was bigger than you had before. At least the screens are definitely much bigger.
That's right. This year we are showcasing our new product that is going to start shipping in a couple months. It's a large TV stand that accommodates TVs up to 46 inches.
Wow.
Last year we had 3 27s, and the TV prices are coming down, and some people might want to mount something larger, so we had to design a whole new stand so you can mount up to 46-inch TVs.
Right. So tell me, what is VolarSim? How did the company get started?
Well, I'm a commercially rated instrument pilot, and when I was going through my instrument training many years ago, I actually did some of the portion of the instrument training on a simulator. And when I saw what they brought in for me to do the instrument training, I was, let's put it this way, I was underwhelmed, to say the least. It was a 19-inch monitor with a yoke, and that was it. So I decided, hey, there's got to be a better way to make it something that's a lot more immersive. So people that are doing instrument training or even flying for flight currency use something that feels more like an airplane cockpit as opposed to sitting at a desk with a joystick.
Right.
And that's the idea for VolarSim.
So give me an idea of the types of materials you use to build your sim pits.
So everything here that you see here is pretty much made out of powder-coated steel. The materials here are tubing, steel. We have the glare shield that's padded with a carbon fiber look material, but it's all made to mount basically your gear to and convert your desk into a cockpit.
And give me an idea of some of your clients that purchase these. Do you, let's say, commercial uses for training versus people who just look at this like me and say, that's just really awesome, I need this in my house?
So I think that split is about 50-50.
Okay.
About 50% are active pilots, retired pilots, and educational institutions like flight schools, high schools that get an aviation program, and the other 50% are guys like flight sim enthusiasts or non-active pilots. They just want to increase the level of immersion.
And where do you get that chair from?
This is actually a genuine race car seat.
Wow.
And we buy it from a company basically that makes seats for race cars.
Okay. Now this is obviously a single pilot setup. Does VolarSim develop dual pilot setups as well for cadet and trainee operations? So
you can easily have 2 of those and remove the side arms or side mounts of the cockpit and basically put those side by side, and therefore you have something like a student and instructor station.
So basically this is almost like endless customization.
You can say that, yeah.
Let's talk about your avionics that you have down here. What are you working with?
So early in the development process, we standardized on SciTech, and the reason being it is very affordable, and almost everybody has something of SciTech in their in the cockpits or whatever they're running for flight simulation. So this avionics panel basically is pre-cut and pre-drilled to mount any of the SciTech instrumentation, such as the radios, the switches, the autopilot, and even the little SciTech gauges.
So is the actual panel here, is this a custom panel that you've actually created, or is this something that actually came from SciTech?
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen this before.
That is a product that we showcased last year, and that's our product. It is basically a glare shield with cutouts for SciTech, and we manufacture and sell that, yes.
And for desktop operations, do you sell this component individually?
Yes, we do, because some people already have a cockpit and they just want to put a glare shield and mount the SciTechs into it, so that's available as a standalone product.
Give us an idea of what a standard setup like this might cost.
Okay, so since we just talked about the panel, let's talk about the panel. The panel costs $375.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, very affordable.
Yeah, and it basically has the cutouts made for the radios and for the SciTech components. Okay. But we have a blanking plate, so if you don't have all the holes populated, if you will, then they're going to be covered like you see in the top right corner.
Correct.
Where you just have a blanking plate. You can also use an iPad with a, say, a dual double-sided tape and put it right in the center above the Cytec yoke that you have here with like an air manager, and simulate gauges that way too, because not everybody wants to invest in a 6, those Cytec gauges.
Correct. So, and it seems like this is also a potentially customizable option, because you can probably swap in and out gauges, and you could probably put back like LCD screens probably behind the panel as
you
well.
could. That's correct.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'd like to see you try this thing out.
Okay, very good. Let this gentleman finish. Maybe I'll talk to you about the chassis as well.
Yes, please do.
Okay, so the chassis costs $695.
Okay.
And consists of basically everything that you have here, and it has also everything's also pre-drilled for the Cytec components.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is the mounts you see on the side with a throttle and a trim wheel, that's pre-drilled. So you just basically take the Cytec stuff and mount it right to the plates.
Right.
We also pre-drilled for Thrustmaster. So if you're doing a HOTAS configuration,
right,
or you're flying an X55 from Cytec, it's basically pre-drilled, so you don't have to drill any holes. The whole idea behind this cockpit is minimal amount of drilling and configuring. Basically, get your Cytec or Thrustmaster gear bolted and go. All right. Well, let's do a walkthrough through the cockpit. First thing is the seat. As I mentioned, it's a genuine race seat. It's adjustable, so before you get in the cockpit, you can slide the seat back like in a car. So there's a lever here, so you can move it back, and then you can have an easy ingress into the cockpit. The angle of the seat also adjusts, just like in a car seat. So you can recline it or put it upright. Actually, I have some customers tell me that they take a nap in and they just recline, it and take a little nap. So then let's talk about some of the other components that are part of the chassis. Down below you see a rudder pedal plate. That plate is angle adjustable, so you can angle it from being completely horizontal to being at about 50-degree angle. As you very well know, in an airplane, the rudder pedals are very upright, almost vertically. So we designed it so that you can mount the rudder pedals to mimic what you would see in a real airplane, which is more of an upright configuration. Then on the right-hand side, you see a plate that allows you to mount a trim wheel or a quarter thread quadrant, or several of those. You can kind of stack them, like if you're doing a multi-engine configuration, you can attach them so you can have more than one throttle quadrant. And then above that, you have a keyboard tray. So obviously it's very important that you have a keyboard and easy access to it. But once you get the sim going, the idea is that you could rotate the keyboard out of the way so that you can operate the sim, using the gauges as opposed to having to use the mouse. So we designed it so it's articulating, so you can put it in front of you and get the sim set up. And then when you're done, you rotate it out of the view. And it's padded here, so you can have a keyboard and maybe a mouse here. You don't need to use a mouse pad. So that's the mount here. On the left-hand side, we have a mount here that I have an iPad here with a 4-flight running. If you're doing some proficiency kind of a flying and you want to refer to an iPad or approach plates. But if you are using a HOTAS configuration, both of those plates are pre-drilled, so you can mount a Cytec X55 or X56, Thrustmaster, Warthog. It's pre-drilled, so all you got to do basically is just bolt it down, and it's ready to go. There's also a third mount here that we don't have a display that goes between your legs that will come standard with a cockpit for a center stick configuration. So if you're flying in a military kind of airplane or a stick plane with a flight stick between your legs, you can mount it there as well. So as far as the adjustability of the panel here, you see we have a Cytec yoke mounted in there. It's pre-drilled as well, so you can just bolt the Cytec yoke directly in there, and then you can put our avionics panel around the yoke, or you can put any other accessories that you have in there. That table slides up and down so that you can adjust it for height depending on your monitor placement. And then the monitors that we have here, we brought the larger ones for the show, showcasing that new stand that I mentioned before. But default, this setup will come with a built-in stand that allows you to mount up to 3 32-inch monitors. So basically, you can mount them in a single monitor configuration, or like what we have here, with a triple configuration for this kind of a wraparound effect. So once I get into the sim, I can then adjust my seat so to the position that that I needed to. Again, I can set up my sim with the keyboard here, and then quickly walk through the panel. It's again standard Cytec configuration. So I have dual navcom here, 2 radios. You can start with one. You know, the dual navcom configuration is really used in real airplanes for redundancy, but in the flight sim, I guess you could get away with one. Here I have my transponder set up on that lower display. This is the standard Cytec 6-packs. I happen to like it for the reason that it's got knobs. So if you're flying something like an HSI, you can adjust this. You know, you basically have a heading bug, and you've got a course selector, just like you would have in an airplane. So I like that aspect of it. And of course, you can also adjust your altimeter setting with a knob here. But the other gauges, like the airspeed indicator, for instance, these knobs are not really used for anything. So again, if you want to use an iPad here, that's probably fine as well, if you can live without having to have physical knobs. And then on the left-hand side, I've got an annunciator panel, the standard autopilot module that Cytec makes, and the switch panel. The idea, again, is, at least from my perspective, that once I get the sim going, I want to be able to fly with operating the controls just like I would do in a real airplane, with minimal, if any, need for using the keyboard and the mouse.
Where's VolarSim based?
We're in Indianapolis.
So from client order to shipping, how long is the development process?
We have these in stock.
Okay.
So if you bought one, say today at the show, we will ship it to you tomorrow.
Wow, okay, so that's fairly quick.
Yeah.